Hi friends, thanks for tuning in. Let's talk about color. Color is an amazing thing, but it can also be kind of complicated. If you've ever picked out paint colors for your house, you'll know what I mean. And yes, there really are about 100 different shades of white. But we make decisions about color every day, such as choosing what color to wear or what color of hair and makeup we're in the mood for. There's so much to know. If you were in design school, you could spend several semesters studying the nuances of color, words like these shown on the slide. But for this video, I'm going to give you just enough color theory that you can use it effectively in your PowerPoint slides or anywhere else. Let's start with a color wheel, which is a really important design tool. Understanding the relationships of colors on this wheel will help you make better choices when it comes to color. The baseline concept to understand here is the primary colors. This is going to be red, yellow, and blue. They're called primary colors because you can't mix other colors to create them. For example, you probably know that you can mix blue and yellow to make green, but it's impossible to mix any other colors to arrive at red, yellow, or blue, so these are your primary colors. Moving to the next level, we have our secondary colors. Here we are talking about mixing. If you mix yellow and blue, you get green. If you mix blue and red, you get purple. And if you mix yellow and red, you get orange. So green, purple, and orange are secondary colors. If you continue mixing in that same fashion, you're going to get tertiary colors, like those shown here. So those are the basics of the color wheel. You have primary, secondary, and tertiary. Now let's talk about relationships when it comes to color. The first concept is complementary colors. These are colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. Just pick any color and draw a straight line across the wheel to find its complement. For example, blue and orange, or green and red. Here's some examples side by side. When you're working with complementary colors in PowerPoint, it's best to use one of the colors as your main color and then the other as an accent, kind of like what I've done here. Otherwise, complementary colors can be overwhelming and they can actually hurt your eyes a little bit like this slide. Next up we have triads. These are three colors that are equidistant from each other on the color wheel. The primary colors, red, yellow, and blue, shown on the top right of the slide here, are actually triads. And then from the primary colors, just move around the wheel and you can find the others, like these, and these. As with complementary colors, it's usually best to choose one of your triad colors as the main, and then the other two in lesser degrees. And you might have to play with them a little bit to find out what looks right. Here's how you might use triad colors together. I'm using green as my main color, and then the orange and purple as accent colors because they really pop together. Next up we have analogous colors. This is a combination of 2 or 3 colors right next to each other on the color wheel. For example, the oranges shown here, or the greens and blues, and so on around the color wheel. Analogous colors also require a little bit of experimentation, but the effect you can have is really interesting. There is a risk here of not having enough contrast for readability if you're using these with text, so be careful about that. But they can create some really fun combinations when you use them with icons, shapes, and backgrounds. Another way to group colors is by warm and cool. The simple way to think about this is that cool colors have more blue in them, and warm colors have red or yellow in them. So just draw a line straight down the color wheel and divide things into warm or cool. The key thing to remember here when you're thinking about warm or cool colors, warm colors will pop on a page, and cool colors sometimes don't. This obviously has to do with the background they're on, but generally speaking, the warm colors that have the red or the yellow will make something stand out better. Now let's talk about some additional terminology you might hear as you're learning about color. First is hue, which is a pure color, such as these on the color wheel. This hue is really your baseline. And then a shade is created by adding black to a color. The way I remember shade is I think about a tree and how it casts dark or black shade. So when you're talking about shade in the context of color, just remember it's adding dark or adding black to a color. Here's an example using red. So our hue, or baseline, is the red from the color wheel, and then as we progress to the right and down the slide, we're adding black, or shade, until we eventually get to all black. The opposite of shade is tint. This is created by adding white to a color. Here's another example. We're starting with the baseline hue of red, and then we add a little bit of white all the way until we get full white. In PowerPoint, you've surely seen a palette that looks like this, though maybe with different colors. Thinking about the concepts of hues, shades, and tints, you can see that the pure colors, or hues, are on the top, and you can actually insert those into the middle of the shades and tints below and see that full progression from dark to light. Tints and shades are also how you get the monochromatic look. Monochromatic just means that you have a single hue, and then you use tints or shades of it. Like here, again, our hue was red, and then black or white was added to get these other colors. Monochromatic can be really unified and kind of modern looking when you do it correctly, so keep that one in your tool belt. But with all the different hues and tints and shades and relationships, what does it all mean? Let's talk a little bit about when to use what, color and mood. For example, red. Red can be strongly positive or strongly negative for people. On the positive side, it means action and energy and strength and excitement. But when you overdo it, it can cause anger, irritation, and fear. From a design perspective, red should be used sparingly. It's really good for calls to action like buy now, or error messages or warnings, or you really need to get somebody's attention. Orange has become pretty popular in recent years. It's generally seen as adventurous, vibrant, warm, and creative. However, some people can interpret it as superficial, cheap, or overbearing. For design, this is really good for slides related to adventure, fun, travel, or restaurants. Yellow is the quintessential happy color, like the sun. It's fun, playful, and original. But it can be seen as critical, like a warning sign, or egotistical or non-emotional. In design, I would say to limit your use of yellow unless you're creating slides for children's products, fun and leisure, or sparingly as an accent color. Green is having a moment for many reasons related to nature and the environment. It's also the color of money in the US, so it has ties to wealth and prestige. Of course, the flip side can be that it's too materialistic, greedy, or inconsiderate. From a design perspective, green can be good for promoting environmentally friendly products, to suggest that something's new and fresh, or for financial presentations. The final color I'll cover is blue. Blue is often thought to be the safest color to use in business because it portrays confidence, trust, authority, and peace. But it also has a few possible negatives, those being rigidity, predictability, and unforgiving nature and self-righteousness. It's good to use where you want to show trust and honesty. It's frequently used for high-tech companies, in addition to gray. And it's also good for business related to water, air, sky, travel, or health. But having said all of that, color doesn't mean the same thing to everybody, especially across cultures and around the globe. The slides I just shared are kind of a snapshot of common characteristics in the United States, but a lot more could be said. So when in doubt, do some research on your particular audience to make sure you're not using anything that could have a negative impact. As we wrap up, I'll share just a few more general rules about color. First, try to limit the number of colors you use, preferably to 5 or less. Anything more than that can kind of risk looking like an amateurish rainbow. Next, don't rely solely on color. You want to use other things like contrast, simplicity, alignment, and more to draw attention to certain things in your slides. If you want more design tips like that, check out the video linked above. And then lastly, remember that some people are colorblind. Most commonly, this means they have a hard time seeing red, green, or blue, or a mix of those colors. And that's it, some tips that you can apply when using color in PowerPoint or anywhere else. If you like this kind of content, check out the other videos in my PowerPoint playlist, and be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching.